If you need to shoot video content from home to get out to your clients in this weird time, or at any weird time, you can do it reasonably cheaply with readily available equipment. In previous videos, we looked at doing this for under $1,000 or under $2,000. But what if you had an unlimited budget and wanted to drop 100 grand on a rig like this one here? Would there be any point to it, apart from for the clickbait? Well, the short answer is probably not. But the medium-length answer, with apologies to Tom Scott from whom I stole this line, is the rest of this video. Let's go. In the previous videos on building a budget home studio, we looked at 4 categories of equipment you need to get started with your home YouTube studio. Camera, support, that's tripods and tripod heads, lighting, and sound. So let's do that again today, but this time look at what you get for your money if you spend 20 to 50 times as much. By the way, if you're wondering where I got all of this stuff we're about to look at, no, it didn't fall off the back of a truck. Today I'm at Offshoot Rentals in the northern suburbs of Melbourne. Now, this is not a paid thingy. I've worked with these guys for about 9 years when they started out in the front room of a house. Although I'm not a very good customer because I end up owning most of the stuff that I use regularly. Anyway, they're now in this gorgeous facility that they've built and were very kind to set up all this stuff and let me play around with it. Thanks, guys. There's a link in the description if you want to go and have a look at some of their gear. Okay, so how can a camera rig cost 100 grand? Well, one thing to remember is that as you increase quality or capability incrementally, you increase cost exponentially. Just think about cars as an example. You can get a Ford Fiesta for $14,000. It's a good enough car, it does the job. A Subaru Legacy will cost you about double that at $30,000. It's not twice as fast, twice as comfortable, or twice as reliable though, is it? Double it again and you're in a BMW 5 Series for around $60. A nicer car than a Legacy, but definitely not twice as good. And you can keep going with that exercise and spend $300,000 on a Lamborghini, but you get my drift. The camera behind me is an Arri Alexa Mini LF, and it's rigged up here with an Atlas Orion 40mm anamorphic lens, all sitting on an O'Connor 2065 head and Romford Baker legs. You won't get much change from 100 grand for this outfit. And if you don't believe me or are wondering how that's even possible, well, the camera body itself is about 60 grand. That's without the batteries, any storage and media to record it on, or a lens. Heck, this matte box, which is basically just a glorified filter holder and lens shade, costs more than some cameras. Potato Jet did a great video on why Hollywood loves this camera, so check that out if you want to know more. In any case, for the last 10 years in a row, the Best Picture Oscar winners have all been shot on Arri cameras. Enough said. But is it any good for recording yourself for YouTube spots like this? Actually, no. That's why I have it sitting here looking sexy. Neither the camera or lens have autofocus, so if you're on your own in your lounge room, you'd better not move or you'll be out of focus. Quite apart from that, you could buy an amazing camera like the one we're actually using for half the price and still have change for that Subaru Legacy you've always wanted. We're shooting today on a Canon EOS C500 Mark II. Now, this is Canon's newest cinema camera and their second most expensive at 16 grand. So what do you get for that? Well, a 5.9K sensor that can capture raw video or downsampled 10-bit 4K with 422 color. It has 15 stops of dynamic range and great autofocus. And although it can take cinema lenses, it can also take garden variety Canon SLR lenses like the 24 to 70mm f2.8L we're using today. So what does all this mean for shooting YouTube videos? Well, it's very forgiving of high contrast or unusual lighting situations. You can do a lot of color correction or special effects in post-production, and the footage just somehow looks nice. Would I recommend this for you? Well, no. But its baby brother, the C200 at 5.5 grand, might be on your radar if you're planning to shoot a lot of content and need it to look amazing. As for tripods and heads, if you're using gear that's this expensive and this heavy, and you need to be able to move it extremely smoothly for films that are going to be on the big screen, the support gear is accordingly pricey. These O'Connor heads can hold up to 80 pounds and will set you back about 15,000 bucks. Time to trade in the Ford Fiesta.
Traded the Bluesmobile for this?
No, for a microphone.
They have fully adjustable friction and counterbalance, so no matter what kind of rig you have mounted here, it will balance perfectly and move smoothly. These Romford Baker tripod legs are also commonly found on film sets and are about 2 grand each to buy. Do you need all of this for YouTube videos? No, but a good tripod for a cinema camera like the C500 could still cost you up to 8 grand. Or you could just hire it as needed from our friends here at Offshoot. Now, what about lighting? In the previous video, I mentioned how LED lighting is the way to go, but can be expensive. Well, how expensive? Today, we're using a set of Arri sky panels in the C versions. An S60C is my key light here with a softbox attached. And behind me, I have two S30Cs. The C stands for color. So as well as operating as normal lights, like the one in front, you can dial in any color you want. This big one is about $6,500 without the softbox accessory, and the smaller ones are a bit under $5,000. They're extremely color accurate and consistent, and you'll find dozens of them on film and TV sets. And look how amazing I look, if I do say so myself. Just imagine what it could do for someone better looking. And finally, we come to sound. We've leveled up our wireless lapel mic to a Lectrosonics outfit. Again, you'll find these on film and TV sets because they're small, rugged, very resistant to interference, and produce extremely clean sound. The little SMQV transmitter I'm wearing costs about $1,500 and is hooked up to a DPA discrete lav mic that will cost you about $400. And at the other end, there's a receiver that's another $1,800. That's $3,700. Ouch! But wait, we're not done yet, not even close. On a film set, you always see a boom mic, right? The boom can give us cleaner sound than a lapel mic, which is prone to rustling and rubbing noises from clothing or hair, or you might just not want to see the lapel mic in shot. So the guys at Offshoot have set me up with a Schoeps Colette MK41 up there, which is a very nice microphone outfit and can be yours for just $1,700. Oh, and we've plugged all of this sound gathering gear into the $5,000 Sound Devices 664 mixer recorder. So there you have it. Not including the prop beside me, we've spent $18,000 on the camera and lens, $15,000 on the tripod and head, $16,000 on lighting, and $10,000 on sound, which brings our fantasy home studio to $59,000, not including light stands. And what was the point of all of this? Well, nothing really. I just wanted an excuse to play with this equipment. But I did find a point, and it's this. Your videos are only ever as good as what you put in them. In other words, content over form. And I've got a confession to make about a hard lesson I had in that while I was shooting this video. I showed up yesterday to film and, well, there are two schools of thought when it comes to teleprompters, which is a topic for another episode, but suffice to say here that I'm pretty much a teleprompter guy. I prefer to think in advance about what I want to say and to word it carefully. In this episode in particular, I had so many facts and figures, I really had no hope of getting them right just by winging it. But this time I figured it'd be fine, since I wasn't even sure exactly what gear would be waiting for me when I got here. Anyway, long story short, it wasn't fine. I went home and decided to write the whole thing out and read it from a teleprompter, which is the video you just watched. So while I encourage you to spend as much as you need to get your videos looking how you want them to, at the end of the day, it's about your content. And with that, I'll sign off. Big thanks again to Offshoot. Check them out at offshoot.rentals. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this and subscribe if you want to see more. Questions or feedback? Leave a comment. Bye for now. Now, does anyone know how to actually turn this thing on?